There are 7 questions asked in flight attendant interviews that eliminate more than 90% of candidates. And today I'm going to tell you what those 7 questions are, as well as the ideal model answers. Hi, how are you? I'm Romulo Gutierrez, and this is the Flydeck Briefing Channel. If you're preparing for a selection process for an interview at any airline in the world, Qatar, Emirates, Delta Airlines, Singapore Airlines, United Airlines, Air France, Virgin Atlantic, or any other airline, these 7 tough questions will be in your interview. I mapped this out with more than 100 recruiters from different companies around the world. And I'm going to tell you what the questions are and the most important answers you should give. Let's get started. What's the first question? It's the question, tell me a little about yourself. This question comes up in about 93% of interviews worldwide. What should the standard answer be like? The answer should be between 2 and 3 minutes long. You should spend about 70% of that time talking about yourself as an individual, and 30% you can use to introduce your professional life, especially when it relates to customer service, okay? So hypothetically, I'm at an American Airlines interview and they ask me, tell me a little about yourself. I could say, hello, how are you? I'm Romulo Gutierrez. I'm 47 years old. I'm from Brazil. I'm married. I have 2 daughters. I really love nature. I love the ocean. I really enjoy stand-up paddleboarding. And in my free time, I like to watch a good series on Netflix with my family. People usually describe me as, this is an important phrase, a person who is very committed to others and who likes to help. Professionally, I've always worked with clients. For 10 years, I worked in a store at the mall selling clothes. Then I also worked selling line, and I really enjoy being with customers providing support. Aviation came into my life when here I talk a bit about my course, and I wrap up my answer in 3 minutes. This is a good answer template, okay? Many professionals, flight attendants, end up making mistakes. They talk much more about their professional background and very little about themselves. What does the airline recruiter want to understand? They want to know if you are happy with your choices, if you are someone who is mentally well, healthy, if you are capable of helping others, even in risky situations, like inside the aircraft. So that's why this question is asked. The second question that I think is pretty tough is, why do you want to be a flight attendant? Why do you want to work as a flight attendant? My tip, avoid very generic answers like, oh, because it's a really good field, or because the airline really values its professionals, or because at Qatar Airways I'll be able to travel the world. That's not a good answer. Look for an answer where you have a strong connection between your personality and the company's values, okay? So I could say, for example, if I'm taking part in a selection process for Virgin Atlantic and they ask me this, I would say, look, there are 3 reasons why I want to be a flight attendant. The first one is that I truly believe aviation connects people and their joys. And I'm a very cheerful person. I'm someone who enjoys serving others. So that's the first reason why I would like to be a flight attendant. This has everything to do with Virgin Atlantic's values, you know? Or if I'm going through a selection process at Ryanair and they ask me, why do you want to be a flight attendant? I can say, look, I believe that a flight attendant, above all, needs to put themselves in the passenger's shoes to serve them better and focus a lot on both the experience and flight safety. And I believe that I like being a flight attendant and want to be one because I find myself very useful in these 2 roles. These are Ryanair's values. Of course, you can't go around saying things that aren't true about yourself. It has to be genuine. But connect what you like, what you think, with some of the airline's values. This will really help you with this answer. Let's move on to the third question. I think it's a very difficult question. It eliminates a lot of candidates, which is, what would make you give up on this position? For example, I'm in an Emirates selection process. What would make me give up on this position? The correct answer is to say that nothing would make you give up on this position. All right? You can say the following. You say, look, I'm really sure about what I'm doing. I did my research. Then mention the things you researched. I saw that Emirates works with, for example, a certain type of schedule that I'll have to live in Dubai. And I'm really convinced I have my family support for this. Show that you studied about the position, that you are solid in what you chose, all right? Some recruiters even ask like this. If you don't make it through this election, what will you do? That's a slightly different question from the previous one. You can say the following. In case I don't get approved, first, I'll try to understand why I wasn't accepted, and from there, I'll prepare myself better to come back to Emirates' selection process, which is the company I chose to work for as a flight attendant. That's just an example. I mentioned Emirates, but I could have said United Airlines, TAP, Alitalia, or any other airline. Let's move on to the fourth tough question. And now be very careful with the fourth, fifth, and sixth questions because I think these are the trickiest ones. Before I continue, if you want to do a mock interview with me, where I'll interview you, give you feedback on what you did well, what you didn't, and where you can improve, all live, online, nothing pre-recorded. You can contact me on WhatsApp. The number is on the screen. International code 5511977065465417. The link to this WhatsApp. It's right here in the first comment of the video or in the link in the description. Just click the link, message me directly, and we'll schedule the mock interviews, which will definitely help you a lot. And make sure to subscribe here to the Flydeck Briefing channel. Here, videos never run out and never disappoint. There are new videos every Wednesday, okay? The world of aviation, the world selection processes, they're all here. And I'm counting on your subscription and your like. Let's move on to the fourth tough question. What sets you apart from the other candidates? What sets you apart from the other candidates? What do I think you should do to answer this? Before you go to your interview, grab your notepad or just a sheet of paper like the one I'm using here as a draft. Take a sheet of paper and write your strengths on one side. And on the other side, write your weaknesses. Do an exercise, analyze yourself. What are you good at? What do people compliment you on? What do people say really makes you stand out? I'll talk about some things people say make me different. I'm a very tolerant person. I'm a very communicative person. I'm a very helpful person. I help others. I'm someone with calm habits. I'm a studious person. So I list my strengths. And on the other side, I list my weaknesses. For example, I'm not very patient. I have a hard time dealing with pressure, so I'll write that down. When I get to the interview and they ask me what sets me apart from the other candidates, I'll already have mapped out what I can say. All right, I'm going to talk about my strengths, qualities that really make me stand out. And of course, I'll try to relate them to the flight attendant position. So, for example, look, I'm very skilled at public speaking, at giving presentations, but that's not a fundamental skill for flight attendant. Now, for example, I'm very observant. I could say that's something that sets me apart. I'm very detail-oriented, and I map that out beforehand. So I bring it up in the interview. So bring what you are and what you've mapped out in advance, always thinking about which strengths will help you most in the flight attendant position. Fifth tough question. Tell us why you want to fly with us. Why do you want to work with us? That's a really, really, really complex question. I'll give you a tip too. Always check Glassdoor. Glassdoor has reviews. It's a social network focused on employability, and it has opinions from people who have worked at these companies and businesses. So it's also interesting to see these individuals' perspectives. But when you're asked, say why you want to fly with us. Mainly show your match with the company, your connection with the company. A behavioral connection. Avoid answers that show too much self-interest. Oh, I'd like to fly here at British Airways mainly because it's a company that pays really good salaries, pays in towns, and offers excellent benefits. That's not a good answer because you're only interested in the perks of the job. That's how the recruiter is going to interpret it. I could say, I want to fly with British Airways for 3 main reasons. The first one is that it's a company, for example, with over 70 years of history. And I want to work at a stable company, a company that truly has a track record of safety. Second point, I want to work and I want to fly here because I read testimonials from people who worked here and were very happy working here. And I want to make people happy throughout the flight. And for that, the company also has to make its employees happy, which is why I would like to work here. So I'm connecting myself to real specifics about the company. That will work really well, okay? Sixth type of question that I find pretty difficult. These are questions about onboard conflicts. So it's very common for the recruiter to talk about conflicts. They might say, look, hypothetically, a passenger started arguing with another passenger next to them over political issues. And this fight starts before takeoff, and they begin to verbally attack each other and threaten physical aggression. You're witnessing this. What would you do? So these are questions that could happen to the crew, okay? Or questions like, look, you suddenly catch a colleague eating at an inappropriate time, and they're eating food that's meant for the passengers, not the crew, and they're doing it secretly. If you saw that, what would you do? So these kinds of onboard situations come up too. I'll even give you a tip. Look it up on Gemini or ChatGPT or any other AI. Just type in onboard situations that are asked about. At the main airlines in the world, you'll find all sorts of conflict situations. But the way to resolve them, I'd say, usually follows the same idea, okay? This resolution pattern should have 4 pillars. Remember this, write it down. For pillars, Pillar 1, flight safety. Pillar 2, customer experience. Pillar 3, hierarchy. Pillar 4, the team, okay? So to resolve things, keep this in mind. Say, look, at first I would make sure to look after flight safety. Check if that conflict would interfere with the flight or safety, and if so, I would take stronger measures to resolve it. If that's not the case, then next, try to create a better experience for the passenger, talk to them, convince them you work through these steps I mentioned, which really works, okay? And the 7th type of question, what kind of team do you like to work with, and what kind of team do you not like to work with, okay? It's a tough question. I consider it a really difficult question. And don't forget to leave a like. Give me a like, okay? Leave a comment and subscribe. I really want this project, FIDEC Briefing, to be a help for many people who are looking for guidance for selection processes all over the world and for all the airlines out there. But for this kind of question, the ideal answer is, look, I don't have a preferred type of person or team to work with. I'm usually very professional, very proper. There are people we'll have a bit more affinity with, maybe even become friends, and others we might not be as close to or friendly with. But that's not a problem. I adapt, which is a very important word for a flight attendant. I'm very adaptable when it comes to situations and people. That tell me about yourself question is so important, so crucial in a flight attendant interview that I've put together a complete guide for you right here. Take a look at this guide. It will really help you craft a better answer to tell me about yourself. Excellent preparation for your interview. Take care and see you soon. Bye-bye.